I had talked to you guys a couple of days ago, and it had to do with Colby Covington, the greatest heel in MMA. Did he just step in and pull a heel move on accident and just take the biggest fight that Leon Edwards has ever been booked in, his fight against Tyron Woodley? Did Colby just come in and take that fight away from Leon? Hold that thought, okay? I planted that seed with you a couple of days ago, and it does very much appear, yes. I think that Tyron Woodley has actually even come out ever since and said, look, I'm done with that. I'm done. The Gilbert Burns talk was good for one day only. Leon is now in the rear view, full focus on Colby. It does appear the answer to that question is yes, but hold the thought. Keep the theme, though, because it does start to make you wonder, what if, and I do not predict this, I'm just using this as a jumping off point. What if Khabib and Tony doesn't happen? Does it just get re-signed? There seems to be a belief by most that for any card or match that is being withheld right now, eventually dates and venues will be rebooked, and all is well, Bob's your uncle, we move on. I'm not sure that that would be a wise bet. I would believe that we're even seeing evidence of it. I believe that Colby and Tyron will be each other's next fight, which means what do you do with poor Leon, who deserves something good to happen to him? What do you do? That's a problem and a conversation for another day, but if we were to take that theme and just apply it just for fun, for conversation's sake, to Tony versus Khabib, and say it doesn't happen, and all of a sudden Khabib goes into Ramadan, and by the way he comes back, by the time he comes back, the world's problems right now are a distant memory. Oh, and by the way, there's Conor McGregor. Does Tony even get that rematch? Or get that match re-signed? I think it's a very fair question. It would also appear, by the recent silence from Justin Gaethje's side, who was very vocal that he wanted the Conor fight, and all of a sudden Justin hasn't been so vocal. Generally, when a guy goes quiet, it doesn't mean that he gave up on his idea. It means he already got his way, but the announcement hasn't been made. You put that in conjunction with the fact that Conor's coach is coming out and saying that they want Gaethje, in conjunction with the fact that Las Vegas today started a line of which Conor McGregor is a 2.5 to 1 favorite over Justin Gaethje, and generally those guys have their ear to the grindstone. There's one thing you know about this sport. When there's smoke, there's fire. Every time. But now that the calendar has been put on hold and the schedule isn't moving forward as quickly as it once was, that means that fight could be gone. There's just a lot of moving parts, and I think that we're seeing something very interesting right now, and I don't know that anything is wrong. I don't know that there's anybody wrong here. This is a very weird time, but if any part of us chooses to believe that the fights and the cards that are being disrupted, once the disruption is over, just get re-signed and rescheduled and everybody walks out there and does everything they already agreed to do. Nah, that's not how this works. And a lot of those cards and a lot of those placements, all the way to who is going to headline, have politics behind that, such as the geographical location. If you take Tyron Woodley to England to fight in a main event against Leon, you're going to have a ton of press and a ton of excitement behind the hometown guy who's finally getting his major opportunity against a former world champion and a future Hall of Famer. If you bring that fight and put that anywhere in the States, you just don't have that. And all of a sudden you have T Wood going, man, what am I doing? I'm here to do you a favor in the first place. I respect that you've gone 4 years undefeated. I respect the 8-fight win streak. I respect it all, and I'm here to do you a solid, but only because it's here. I go back to the States. I go grab the biggest heel in the business, Colby Covington, who I got heat with anyway. And by the way, if you're talking about Tyron, did you ever see what Tyron did to Darren Till? Tyron was written off that fight. Tyron Woodley was put in the exact same spot when he fought Darren Till, the exact same spot that Stipe Miocic was put in the night he had to fight Ngannou. Which is everybody already had a foregone conclusion that we got a new champion, and he happens to be younger and he happens to be a little bit fresher of a face. And get ready to get behind him because the party starts tonight. And that put a chip on Tyron's shoulder, and it was one of the best performances that Tyron had. The only reason I bring that up is because if you are looking at the Leon Edwards fight, of course we're all going to have compassion for Leon. Of course we all understand that something good should happen to Leon. We get that. But Leon's only one piece of this, and if we're just doing it by a full majority vote, you now have Tyron left, and Colby's inserted himself. Well, these two guys want something different. So if you put somebody's getting left out, is what I'm offering for you. And it would seem if you're Tyron Woodley, who does have the right to have a little bit of selfishness. Tyron has gotten a bad rap for about 3 years now. I have the foggiest idea where it comes from. Tyron's a team player, does what he asks, goes and fights where he's asked. But Tyron did not create the mess that we're in. Tyron was willing to go through with his part. And I will just tell you as an observer of Tyron, he does his best work when the house is on fire. He does his best work when he's pissed off. Colby pisses him off. And by the way, I think Tyron has pissed Colby off, who also does his best work with a chip on his shoulder. It would just seem to me that we all do need to understand whatever we've thought is real and whatever plans that we have had, at least in the short term, all the cards get thrown up in the air. You guys, the fan, the listener, the watcher, the subscriber, you hold a lot of power right now. Your voices are listened to and they are heard. So I'm not sitting over here making a prediction for any one of you that are going, wait, that's not fair to Leon. For sure it's not fair. Wasn't fair to Tyron that it got canceled. Not fair to anybody. I get it. But once those contracts and those bouts and those agreements ultimately get superseded, I mean, look, a contract's only got 4 things. Got your opponent, it's got the rules, it's got the weight class, and most importantly, it's got a date. You miss that date, you take one of those 4 things away, that whole thing is torn up. Everything has to be re-talked about and re-signed. So think about that. Let me know. Let the world know. What is it you want to see?